What's up, everybody? This episode is going to be brought to you by my guy, Alex Pruitt. He's doing amazing things in the real estate world. I've literally mentioned him in every episode. He's been on episode 2 as well. He's crushing the game, selling your house for way more than you can even think of, and he's doing it in record freaking time. He works for 72 Sold, and they live by that 72 Sold, guys. So go check him out. If you're buying, he's going to put you in your forever home because that's what he wants. He wants to make you happy. He does everything for the customer, guys. And also, this episode is brought to you by Dr. Austin Calloway of the Ford Calloway Dentistry. I've talked about him a lot, guys. He does my smile. That's why I look so beautiful every time I cheese. I laugh way too much, and he's helping me out with that because I want it to be beautiful and gleamy every time. He does veneers. He does anything cosmetic. He's also getting Botox in there. He's right down the road from the studio here in the Biltmore area, and he's going to make your smile look so vibrant and so great. Go hit up my guy, mention Mayo when you go in to get that teeth cleaning or whatever you need done, and he's going to give you a special discount because he loves the show. Me and him are really good friends. We go way back. He wants to take care of you and give you the best smile possible. Go follow my guy, Austin Calloway.
We're pulling live from the other side of America. Give me a hearse, but I ain't give a fuck. Send me to church. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast that brings you all things Arizona and all people that are doing amazing things here in Arizona. And with me, I have somebody that has probably one of the coolest stories that I've ever seen. I read up on him a little bit today, and everybody that I've talked to is like, you need to get this man on the podcast. So with almost 100,000 followers on Instagram, the CEO of three different companies, it's my man, Bryce Cleveland. Bryce.
What's going on, man?
How's it going today,
Doing
buddy?
good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. You're looking fly, man.
Thank you, bro.
If I would have known you were dressing this sexy, man, I was going to have to step it up a little bit, but that's all right. What have you been up to today?
I've been good. Just building, busy on some new projects.
Yeah.
Working with, we're building a distro center out in Egypt right now.
Oh,
and we've got an awesome new location in Tel Aviv. So just building, keeping the vision alive and creating some magic.
Yeah, you're known internationally. Sorry, I forgot that in the intro.
Yeah.
That's like probably the biggest mistake right there. You're known internationally, man. You do a lot of different things. One of the things that you're really, really known for is Scalpa, which has to do with one of the other companies that you're a CEO of, Dead Gal, which we had your girlfriend Tay on what, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
So you got your finger in almost everything, man. Yeah. But talk about Scalpa. What is Scalpa?
So we're an online training system paired with products. When I was a kid, I'm left-handed, right brain. I was kind of weird kind of kid, you know. And I think that young people that have a lot of talent, they get caught up in the jail system because and just the kind of go down the wrong path because they're so talented, but they didn't fit in the school system. And in school you don't get taught how to manipulate your brain and what really this beautiful mind has and how you can manifest anything you want. And it's built for certain type of people. And growing up too, I didn't really have quite a family system. My mom and dad were divorced. My mom worked her ass off. I remember some of the days I'd be in her car and she'd be pulled over, just slamming her hand on the wheel because we ran out of gas. And I watched her build a company and get into real estate. And success isn't taught, it's caught. And my father was an entrepreneur, and I got so lucky to be around him. And he never taught me anything, but I watched and saw what it looked like. And so as I grew older, when I was 14, I got to work with my father, and I watched what success was, what it really looked like, and got into the surplus business, and I'm getting out of that business. But I wanted to create something for people where, nowadays in the culture that we live in, it's not about figuring out how to do it. It's getting together and connecting with the people who are doing it, right? And getting together with that. And that is what Scalpa is. We're an online college, basically, in the beauty industry. So basically what it is we have trainings, about almost 100 now, and we create products. And when you go to a beauty school, they teach you how to do a facial, some micro dermabrasion, and that's it, right?
That's really it. And
we we stay on the edge of just all the new stuff, the new fun stuff. Fibroblast, we do butt lifts, we do needleless injection. Now we have Scalpa Med, we're doing more doctor stuff. But my real passion is finding those people that, whether they dropped out of high school, right? Soccer moms, everyone's got that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that, you know, when you take a paycheck, your soul dies. And I think that everyone, if you give them the right tools and the right blueprint to success, you know, and they can really see that they can control their destiny, and you give them you lead the path for them with the products, the tools, and not just some, you know, a lot of these, you know, speakers, these people, it's all this fluffy, right? I mean, these are real, these are real products. Like, here's a product, here's how you do it. Now go out there and instead of spending the time sitting here figuring out how to do it, we showed you how to do it. Now spend the time, let us show you how to market yourself, get business, and really make a change and get fulfillment, right? For sure. That's how you really, that's where the miracles happen. When you're fulfilled, you're feeling good, you're making a difference, you're open to really creating a lot of wealth for yourself, and really growing. So that's what we do. We've got an online school, and it's so weird. I'm a 9th grade dropout, and I'm training things, and it's a college. It's so ironic, but it's something that, you know, for teachers, you know, I spent more time in school at parent-teacher conferences, and I was just a daydreamer. You know, I was just always, I'm a butterfly character, and I'm still that way. But it's a good thing. That's what I read about you.
It's like, is it ADD or ADHD?
Yeah, ADHD. Yeah,
ADHD. So I read that about you, and it said that you struggled in school. That's why you dropped out at 16. Yeah. But you turned that into something, because that's one thing that's crazy. So a lot of people don't know. You know, growing up, when you have ADD or ADHD, you think, oh, they can't pay attention, they're never going to be successful. But what you fail to understand is that those people have a level of focus that other people, normal people, do not. Yep. And so when you can channel that focus and be like, hey, listen, I have an idea, and I'm going to run with that. Yep. If that's a part of your life, then you are going to master that one path, and you are going to be so freaking successful with that. Totally. So when I read that, I was like, holy cow, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm learning so much now. It doesn't matter if you go to college. It doesn't matter if you graduate high school or you just have a GED. It doesn't matter. If you have a drive and you have a plan and you have an opportunity to pursue that plan, that's how you absolutely crush it.
Exactly. And, you know, there's, you know, in marketing too, you know, there's an old system, you know, it's the old TV industrial revolution, right? Where, you know, you bought ad space on a commercial, and you know, Kellogg's, Fruity Pebbles, right? You got Kodak, Zero, these companies that can get in front of you, and now it's stuck in our mind. Yeah. But things get thrown at people so much now that they're just like, I don't need it. But if you can touch, move, and inspire someone in such a way that they remark about that product, whenever I'm sitting down with friends or anybody and they have the time to tell me about a product, I am on Amazon or on that website and I'm buying it, because I knew that somehow, some way, that company is remarkable. Yeah. They got my friend to sit here with a little time that we have and remark about it. And, you know, that's how I built all my businesses. When I was younger, the first company that I started was in the surplus business. And I was homeless at 16. I was absolutely, my parents kicked me out. I dropped out. And like, listen,
drop out, kicked
out. Like, you're gone. You're out. And I moved to the end of the driveway, and I would sleep. And they're like, no, you're gone. You're gone. Like, go
off the property.
You're gone. Yeah. And it was tough love. They were really tough on me. And you know, it was woe is me at first, and it was funny. I was homeless, but I would kind of. I was kicked out of school, and it's funny. I would go to the lunchroom to see my friends at lunchtime, and people were like, "Wait, he doesn't go to school here anymore." But I just go to lunch just to hang out with my friends. Yeah. And it's embarrassing when you're saying you're homeless. You know, it was again, you know, it hurt my ego, it hurt my pride, because I knew I had a lot of talent, and I learned a lot about business. But me and my dad kind of had a falling out, and he was like, "Listen, you know, it's kind of a long story, but." He taught me a lot. He didn't really teach me a lot, but I learned a lot from him. But I was very stubborn, and I knew that I can go out there and get it myself.
For sure.
And I remember I dropped off some friends one morning, and I used to sleep behind churches, buildings, and sometimes cops would come and they'd say, "Listen, you need to get out of here." In New York, from New
York,
is
like already sketchy as it is, man.
Yeah. So I found solace at this McDonald's, And because it was 24 hours, so there's always motion. So they didn't really notice my truck there. And I had a little pickup truck, and I'd park right there, and I'd sleep there. Well, I dropped my friends off, and I didn't know. They decided after I dropped them off, they wanted to go to McDonald's and get some food. Well, they saw me.
Yeah.
They come around the drive-thru and they see me. So back then, we barely had cell phones. When we did, there wasn't any cameras on it. You know, I'm 36, so this was way back in the day. And God, I feel old. And so they went on AOL Instant Messenger. Remember AIM? They went on that.
Oh, yeah.
And they told
I used to
all
flirt
of
with
my
girls
friends.
that way,
Yeah, totally. That was the move. And so it just killed me. I remember I was in my car underneath this underpass, and I was just crying, and I'm just like, you know, what am I gonna do? So I called my mom, didn't talk to her in 7 months, and I'm like, listen, I just need to talk to you. I don't know what, you know, I'm just like lost right now. And she's like, I'm not giving you anything. Like, you know, we can meet, you know. But so she brought me this book, and it was the most boring book ever. And it was talking about
typically
how,
are. The self-help books are usually
it was, you know, but I had nothing. I'm like, you know, let me read this thing.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
still this day, I don't remember what the book was, but it was talking about how there's the rivers in life and the trees and the pond and how they all interact. And like, where are we going with this? But at the end, it started talking about affirmations and I ams and walking in the footsteps of success. And really, even if you got to mirror somebody, right? Mirror who that is. That's okay. If you got to borrow somebody's whatever it is and just walk into it. And I said, you know, enough's enough. Sometimes you hit your rock bottom. And I did. And I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm going to start making moves because I know that I've got more than this. And it's, you know, I let all the situations that happen to me, all my bad lucks eat me up where I'm like, you know what? I'm better. So some people, it takes them a while. You know, it takes them a while to find that or to, you know, the discipline to really create that. But for me, it was only a few weeks. And I ended up going. So what I did to when I was homeless to even have money and get stuff off the dollar menu, would I go to little hotels and I'd buy and sell. I'd take electric lamps from hotels. I'd pull electric units out of there, sell them to electric companies. I mean, I had little hustles.
Pull the copper out and all
that.
Yeah.
I had little hustles. And so one place I went to this hotel and they were getting rid of their beds. I'm like, what are you guys doing with these beds? I'm like, oh, we're just getting rid of them. I'm like, I'll give you $1 a bed and let me take the beds and I'll resell them. So this gets down to that remarkability piece. So what happened is I'm like, what am I going to do with these beds? My friend's father had this lot. So I took all the beds, I had 400 beds. I put them in my pickup, just me, and brought these things back and forth all day. I have but it's really 800 because you got the box springs in the beds.
Yeah,
It's 800 units.
It's two of everything.
Yeah. So it was a lot. And they're outside tarped up. It was a mess, right? So I'm like, how am I going to sell these things? And there was no Craigslist. There was no real internet. I mean, when AOL, it was like the dial-up thing, you know?
Yeah. If somebody's on the phone, that shit's not working.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I put up these signs all over the city on electric boxes, and it's had my phone number, and it said, you know, free delivery, 69. I thought 69 was kind of cool number to kind of make it cool, right? $69 for the bed. And I sold 7 beds that month, and I'm like, there's got to be something that's different, right? And something special. I'm like, I have an idea. So I took a picture of myself. Okay. And I put a picture of myself and I said, wanted, dead or alive. The man with the bed beds in the world, call this number, right?
Yeah.
That year, I did $1.2 million in bed sales. And I ended up getting a whole team. I had a whole team that came on board, and we built a business. I was the biggest buyer and seller of used beds. And actually, I'm the reason why selling used beds are actually illegal now, because I think either I created bug beds, but I had the whole ghetto on lock.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone. I was 5 beds. I mean, we'd go in some homes, and it was like these kids didn't have a bed, and it was 69 free delivery. And then I got hard into buying out companies. Kodak, Xerox. We really grew our business. Ended up getting out, but did really well with that business. And then I started balding. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a solution.
I'm going there soon, man.
Yeah,
so like that's why I wanted to bring you on, because it's
yeah,
happening.
Yeah,
very
okay,
soon.
cool.
I got the power.
We got
alleys.
you, baby. We got you.
I'm like trying to like bring the hair down.
Yeah.
Like, babe, you gotta. She does hair, so I'm like, you gotta fix this shit for me.
Yep.
But
yeah.
So you started balding.
So I started balding. But let me back up real quick. So with the surplus business, so back to that remarkability piece, and this is kind of funny. So it's funny because when I had these signs, I'd go to restaurants and people are like, oh my God, that's that guy, and they laugh at me, right? And it's like, it was funny. funny.
But
like
they
he's
knew
a,
you.
but they knew
They knew
exactly.
you.
And you know what? If they're talking, who cares? They talk
Exactly.
about it. Whether it's bad or good, they're talking about
Yeah.
it, right? You can't knock the hustle, right? That's what it is.
Was it easy?
So-
He said like all publicity is good.
It's good publicity. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I got into the surplus, I remember there was a store. It was called the Vitamin Card Outlet, and that's why it didn't work. On one side of the place there was cards, and the other side of the place there was vitamins. So the vitamins, I found a hustle. There was a vitamin company. I resold them to them, and then I was stuck with all these cards. And so I'm like, what am I going to do with these? I'm like, I have an idea. So anytime someone would come, I had these thank you cards. So whenever someone would come to buy equipment, we'd give them a thank you card. And they're like, what the hell is it? Why you give me a thank you card, right? But people would talk about it like, man, he gave me a thank you card, right? So then I'm like, I'm going to step it up a little more. That's when I started getting successful. So I bought my first Maserati when I was 18 years old. So I parked
homeless
my
at 16,
yeah,
Maserati at 18.
Yeah. So I stood up on top of the Maserati, had all my employees behind me, and I went like this, and I had someone take a picture in front of one of my buildings. And I bought out this frame company, had all these 8x11 frames, and I had like 5,000 of them. And I was finding someone to resell them. Like, I have an idea. I'm going to sign my autograph and say thank you, and they're going to be us and me, a picture like that, and we're going to give it to everyone who comes and buys from us, right? Yeah. So some people would say, what the hell is they throw it in the garbage, right? But some people, believe it or not, my friend told me, he's like, I went to my grandpa's house, and he had Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and then he had your fucking frame picture on his desk, Bryce. Like, and it's just creating that illusion, right? Or just saying, hey, and it just, and people, I remember I wasn't even of age. I'd go to bar, I had a fake idea, go to bars, and people were like, yo, that's the guy with the signed autograph. Yeah. But it's remarkable. They talk about it, right? And so it created this stigma, this, and so that's what it is. It's about creating products that are remarkable. How do you touch, move, inspire somebody to talk about your product, about your services?
Yeah. And I mean, like, exactly like you said, I've heard of Scalpa before.
Yeah.
And I've heard of you before, and it wasn't until like the Dead Gal launch party and everything like that I was like, oh, and I started putting everything together. Yeah. And so creating that buzz, right? And everybody, it's kind of the same with me so far on the podcast. From a couple people, they're like, hey, I've heard of your podcast from this person. Like yesterday, your photographer, Jerry was like, yeah man, like I'm with them tonight, and I love your shit, dude. And I was like, well, yeah, it's all about creating the buzz. Totally. If you can create the buzz, whether it's good or bad, whether they don't like it or not, they know who the hell you are. Yeah. And I think that's something so amazing, man, that you were able to learn that at such a young age. Yeah. And in 2 years, you went from sleeping behind a freaking McDonald's to a Maserati.
Totally.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But I want to get back on Scalpa really quick. I was peeping the website earlier today, like I had to. Yep. And there is so many different things. One, I didn't know this was international. When did you guys go international?
So it's Scalpa, really what Scalpa is someone who was lost and now is found. So Scalp Aesthetics was my first company. So basically I started losing hair, and I was like, man, and I'm telling you, my basement was like, it was like a magic show. I mean, I had literally black spray. It was like a chemistry lab. I had black spray, black powder. I would literally put tape across the front of my head. Oh, and line it. And then line it and then pull the tape off. I mean, and I'm like, I'm living in this lie. It's like every time I go somewhere, I had, if couldn't wear a hat, I'd put the spray under the hat. I had a boat. I wouldn't want to go in the water. I'm like, it just sucks. Yeah. So I went around a tattoo. I mean, I had tattoos. I went on a tattoo. I was like, the ink will turn blue. It's not going to work. And I'm like, all right. So it's the coolest part about it was, when I was in the surplus business, I used to buy out of Xerox. Well, what do? They make ink. Kodak. My bad, Kodak. Yeah, Kodak. So they make ink. So I got up with a bunch of chemists, and I'm like, how do I make ink that won't turn blue? And like, well, guess what you do? You make it directly out of coal, because it's gray. And if you look at the side of your head, it's gray. If you look at the side of anyone's head, it's a shade of gray. No matter, when you get down to the core of it, it's a shade of gray. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got it, right? So I started kind of messing around. So what I did was I did this advertising budget on TV, stupid, spent 60 grand. In a month, I got one customer, and I'm like, and I built out this whole the old Daniels house, 60 grand, one customer, and actually I did him for free. So I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? So what I did was, my friends always know me as being Mr. Ideas, whenever. I'm like, hey, so what I decided to do, I'll get there in a minute. I decided to do it. I'm like, listen, I'm going to find kids who have bone marrow cancer, different problems that would love to have this. I'm going to do them for free for a year. I'm just going to do them because I almost gave up, and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to change lives the way that, so my ex-wife, I had her do my head. Okay. And I'm like, this turns out good. Like, we're good to go, and I'm just going to be happy. And then I'm like, man, it looks so good. We can turn this into a business. Yeah, like, but at that time, if you tell someone you're going to tattoo their head, they're going to tell you to get fucking lost, right?
Yeah.
Because it's scary, right? It's a tattoo.
Scary,
it's scary.
Painful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's a thing. So anyways, I found kids. I'd fly them in. And so I brought my friends together. I'm like, I had this awesome business idea. And they're like, oh, what is it? Right. So my one friend, his dad, it was a Patel's. He owned a hotel. And I'm like, you're going to house these kids. And then my other friend, his father owned a restaurant. I'm like, you're going to feed them. And then my other friend, they had a limo service. I'm like, you're going to pick them up. I'm like, okay. But how are we going to get paid? I'm like, the universe is going to bless you. And I said, like, oh, Bryce, come on. Like, what? I'm like, listen, believe me, you're going to be blessed. You're going to be a part of this revolution, and we're going to do this. So we did it. And I'd fly kids in, and just for free. And the media got attention to what I was doing. Like, wow, like this is, so I started getting people in. Then there was just people that from all over the country that wanted to get it done. So I opened up 32 locations over the course of a couple years, Scalpas, just doing heads. Ooh. And what we called them was Scalpas. After they did it, they were like, they're a Scalpa now, right? So like, I am a Scalpa, whatever. So I'm like, and my artists were like, what else can we learn? Like, we're doing heads. What else is there? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a product line and a training program. Because what would happen is I'd go train somebody.
You couldn't do them all. And so you were probably training one-on-one, and it was taking a lot of your time.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm like, and so what happened? I'd sit there for 10 days with these people, or I'd have an artist go and train them. And they were more scared when I was gone than I was there, of course. And so when I came back home, I'm like, you know what? And I found myself training them via phone, via video, via this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build a training program for them. And that's how I got birthed. You know, I had my product line. I had special needles. We call them the Bryce needles. They're really cool. I've got some here. I got some goodies for you here. Yeah. But that's what we did. We created an online program. And that's when I sold off all of my locations, and we just launched. We had, in the course of a year and a half after that, we had 1,300 locations, 55 countries worldwide. And then Scalpa got birthed. And so what my real passion is these individuals and watching them just grow, where you have someone that's kind of down on their luck, right? They like beauty, or, you know, my favorite are the people that either they're like me, you know, they're my raving fans. And the biggest thing too in business is you always want to please everybody. One of my mentors,
that's the hardest part too.
Tom Golisano, he's a billionaire. He owns Paychex, Paychex, and it's 1% of the market, and he's a billionaire. The guy's got the mega yacht. I mean, huge. He's a billionaire, and he told me, he's like, I own 1% of the market, but you know what? I never swayed from talking to my audience. Yeah. And not a lot of people like me, but my audience, my niche people, love me. And that is so important, is that I'm a little flashy, I'm a little this, I'm a little that, but the people that resonate for me, they will be buying from me for life because they trust me. Exactly. They know I don't spread myself thin. They know I talk directly to them. They know they can latch on to what I do because they want to be there. And I strictly stick to them, and those are the people that I talk to. So it's really important to do that. But yeah, that's how Scalpa was birthed. So now what I do all day, as I say, what's the next big thing? What's the next big thing that's innovative for them to be able to handle and make them recession proof? Because now when someone comes in and instead of doing just the head or just microblading, they can say, hey, I have all this stuff that I can offer you, and we keep on bringing under the same Scalpa line, and they trust it. And what else is a community, right? Goes back to that who part, right? Yeah. It's connecting with a community of people like themselves who are doing it, right? So they say, oh, I see their ups and downs, and I want to support them. So, you know, when we have a Scalpa Con every year, and it's a conference. We're not doing this here because of the whole COVID thing, but we have a conference, and I always tell people, keep coming back, because you know what? You're going to find more fulfillment in helping that next artist, right? Because you're going to be like I was to you, right? So don't be selfish. Keep coming back and helping that next person. It's an ecosystem, right? For sure. And that's where you get fulfillment, is helping people. I mean, I don't get off on. When I think about what I remember the days when I helped the young kids at the hospitals. I remember the days where that person that reached out to me, and I stopped and took the time to talk to them and work them through their problems, right? And you know, the other thing too is that, you know, before a lot of my trainings, I always say, close your eyes right now, because you just bought this training, right? and you're all excited about it. But there's going to be a time in 2 weeks, in a month, where you're going to feel hopeless, right? Because it's hard to learn. It's whatever it is. And just remember this time when you were excited, right? And get back to that time and feel that hunger that you felt right now, because you're going to have dips and valleys. But remember this time right here, right? This is when you were the most excited. Let's try to keep that fire burning. And so, we try to, and the thing is with training programs, how I do it is that when someone buys a training, I don't make any money, because by all the time and work that we put in, all the hours that my trainers put into them, at the end of the day, it's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
But if I make them a rock star, they're going to be buying product from me for the rest of their life and killing the game.
Yep.
So if you win, I win.
Exactly.
Most training programs, it's like, hey, you go buy this stuff here, I train you, pay my money, you got a few hours with me, have a nice day. With me, it's like, no, I'm building a community. I want you to go out. I want you to do $1 million a year, because that means that I do 50 grand a year off you, or whatever it is, right? So that's what it's all about.
Well, and I think that's crazy. So 3 things really quick. Impacting the community, man. Like, obviously taking kids that, either had cancer or had something that you were trying to impact, obviously great, because they need it more than anybody else. And I don't, whether it was like a business plan or I honestly personally think it was just your heart, to be honest with you, because that's what they need, and they most likely can't afford that.
Yeah, totally.
And it's tough. And then to fork out that money on top of medical bills, that's hard. You flew them in, you housed them, and you fed them and gave them the stuff that they need. That's insane.
Yeah.
2, like the community, interacting with the community. That is something I had to learn with starting this show, that if you don't interact with everybody, things are going to fall apart. People are going to fall off unless you're like with them every day, like doing something, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to fall off. And just like today, it's September 11th today, guys. Real quick, a little side note. This was going to release on Tuesday, but it's September 11th when we did it. I went through every single one of my followers and reacted to every single one of a post about 9/11, because it resonates so much with me. So that part is huge, and that's what I wanted to do, like just engage in everything like that. And then 3, the third thing that I love is that you knew that that first product was so important. Because like you said, when you sell that first product, they're going to be like, oh, this shit's the bomb. Okay, like we just came out with a lip filler. Oh, I knew that first thing was bomb. I know this is going to be bomb. 6 months later, I came out with a butt lifter. I'm going to buy that too, because I know the first 2 were bomb and everything like that. So, man, like the amount of intellect that goes in and the process that you think of is so important, and that's what changes people, right? Like, you can have normal average Joes that try and get rich quick, and then you have people that are like, all right, I know this is going to be a business. I know this is going to take me a little bit to get there, but I'm willing to put in the time, I'm willing to put in the effort, and I'm going to do whatever it freaking takes to get there. Whether if that's giving some free advice or free training, like that's just how it has to be sometimes.
Totally.
And obviously it's working out for you right now.
And it's not about I think people get stuck on their business idea, and their business model.
Everybody wants to get rich so quick.
Yeah. And it's about the problem you're solving. So the business model is going to change as the industry changes. You have to always know to pivot. I would say, I figured you're probably gonna ask me, what is your biggest thing that you deal with that's bad, and I'll
Did you
answer.
look at my notes
Well, yeah,
beforehand?
no, I didn't. But it's something that I think it's important to know that it's not all roses and sunshine. My home runs luckily have been, when the bases are loaded for some reason, and they've been really big home runs. But I strike out more than I make home runs, and people need to understand that is that just this last year I've gotten into 2 different businesses. I'm $15,000 into it, and I decided to kind of cut the rope and not do it. I lost money. I lost some friends with it. Of course I got them involved, and it's sometimes I hate the saying never give up, because I've seen so many entrepreneurs never give up into bankruptcy
and give up and give into bankruptcy.
Exactly. They give up. They don't. Well, no. They never give up. They won't give up. Exactly. And they're so stuck on their model. So sometimes you need to know to really pivot hard and know. And some people don't know that you need to move and be very liquid in your approach. Or sometimes you need to cut the cord, and that's okay. Yeah. And and again, I don't. When I say that, it's scary when I tell certain people that, because then they're like, oh, should I? And they get all apprehensive. I learned more in my mistakes than I have in my wins. So it's good, but at the same time, like, you know, I've got 3 companies, right? I've got, and with that, a lot of them pair with each other. I've got an accreditation company that complements my Scalpa company. Dead Gal is kind of the same road. So different things. It's all under the same bridge. But, you know, and there are people that have this, but if you've got a car dealership and a beauty business and you're all over, you can find yourself with like a chicken with your head cut off. Yeah. And I've done that. It's chasing shiny objects. You know, you're all over the place. You're like, I like this opportunity. And you're like, it's good. I'm going to, and then your heart's not in it. It's not really, it's not your fan base. It's not really but you see the margins in it. You get all excited. And then, you know, 2-3 months, sometimes 6 months on the road, you're like, yeah, I'm making money, but I don't love this. Yeah. And so it's something that needs to be passion filled. And I got to shout out. So the biggest thing, the biggest thing of success for me, and, you know, everyone's got the different thing, is building your team. I've got the most amazing. Sophie Manley is one of the girls that works for me. I mean, you know, she came out with me about a year ago, and she was, you know, she went to college, the whole thing, and the girl has learned so much just working on the job. And I think it's so important, you know, it's just, you can go to school and learn, and they'll just teach you just the minimum, where when you're in business and you see what it takes and what you need to build and just the new way, because think about it, everything, you know, the things that you learn now are gone in 18 months. It's always changing, right? So people that say that they're Harvard college degree, it's like, when did you get your Harvard, when were you there? What, 10 years ago? That's gone. Like,
the only thing that's good about that is that, hey, I went to Harvard.
Exactly, that's it. Saying it, and they believe me,
matter.
And they talk a lot about it. If someone goes to Harvard, they're dropping every conversation.
Any Ivy
it's like a Mormon.
School.
It's like a Mormon. You know, it's like they'll say, "Oh yeah, I go to Utah." It's like, "Oh, Mormon." I had a house out in Mesa. It was, oh, Lord. So I'm like, why is there 6 kids across the street? They're all blonde. It was weird. But anyways,
blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, I know. So I've got an amazing team. He runs my Facebook, and we just crush it. I mean, I've been lucky to pick talent and bring people around me that are successful and that are better than me. Yeah. They're just so much better at what they do than me, and so then I can be that butterfly chasing, that visionary, and bring stuff to the table and say, hey, this is what I got. But then I give them the freedom to make their own decisions and press the button, go to say, hey, I got something. I have an idea. Man, I love it when they come to me and say, I have an idea. I'm like, go do it. Yeah. And if they fuck up, I'm like, you know what? You tried. You did it. And it gives them that freedom to be their own entrepreneur within my business.
And so that's something that's so crazy, because a lot of people like to micromanage. They're like, every idea needs to be mine, right? Yep. I don't want to give up the reins. I don't want them to go out and do it. And that's something unique about you, I think, actually.
Totally.
The fact that, hey, like, you have an idea? Cool, let's run with it. Let's see what we can do. Is it a good idea? Tell me about it.
Yep.
And man, some people literally just like turn down every idea. I had this internship once where they turned down every single one of my ideas. Yep. Like, that makes no sense. That's stupid. I'm like, how do you know? I haven't even done it yet.
Yep.
How do you know it's going to come out bad? It may be a great freaking idea, and all of a sudden it blows you guys up.
Exactly.
Man. Oh.
Yep.
So I commend you on that. But let's talk about Dead Gal real quick.
Yeah. So
you went into business with the girlfriend, man.
Yeah.
What's that been like? I gotta know.
It's tough, you know. It's tough, but it's good. It's rewarding. You know, what I love about her is that she is very receptive. You know, there's been some hard conversations that we've had where it's like, hey, you know, you need to step it up, and you know, and because, you know, when you care about somebody, but yet you want to guide them and lead them, there's a fine line right there. Yes. You know, so it's tough. But it's awesome watching her grow and really dig in and do and get the work done. And it really is a reflection of me when I was younger. And I'll tell you, if I was at her age and had a girl like me, or say whatever it was, someone like me, that whatever it was, right? I don't know if I'd be so receptive. I'm a little bit more stubborn, and I'm a little more hard-headed, and I like to learn things on my own. But she really does take advice really, really well. Yeah. And she changes, and she molds, and so there's some challenges with it, but I love business. We both love business. So it's like, you know, I don't know what else to talk about with her. We like talking about business, and we love just, you know, moving forward and checking out things. And what I do is, you know, with her, I try to step back. You know, I'm of course the money guy of the situation, but I want her to like figure it out on her own. I give her guidance. I say, hey, this is what needs to be done, and she does a lot of the work. And I kind of, you know, and I give her all the tools. I mean, so what was really cool with how this worked, of course, is that, you know, she got to plug into all my fulfillment center, you know, everything, right? Yep. So we just automatically was like, you know, plug and play. We built it out and we did it super fast. So if she was going to do it on her own, probably a long process, but she deserves it. I mean, she's you know, she's a networker. I mean, she did that whole launch party, she did everything.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a hustler. So
her connections are deep too.
yeah.
And so like when I was interviewing her, I thought it was like so cool that you guys were doing it together. Obviously, like that's the dream to pair with your partner and do something. And she had the idea. So what was that conversation like? That first conversation.
So in the back, I have at my house, I've got this hot tub, and it's funny. It's like a spool. It's like
a beautiful backyard,
yeah.
everybody, guys. Like, oh my god! Like, I'm still waiting for the invite. So whenever you're ready, I'm gonna come chill in that hot tub.
Yeah. So we're back there, and she kind of just hit me with this, like, listen, you know, I really love these, and it's funny. I've had more business conversations in the spool than I have anywhere. People come back there, and all of a sudden we just talk business for hours, right? It's like, all right, we're burning up.
We're going in the
exactly.
hot tub, man.
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah. So it's a hot tub business machine, and so she's like,
hot tub time machine,
exactly,
hot tub
business machine. So going back there, and she's like, listen, this is what I want to do, and you know, she got me all excited about it. And I'm like, wow, this is very different and unique. And I'm like, let's find some manufacturers, or let's find a way to make these and custom make these. So she just got me really excited about it, and I knew that she would put in the work if I laid out the rest of it, she would take on her piece of it, and she has, you know, it's been great. Yeah.
And then like, so I asked her the same question, and manufacturers, you talked about like getting with chemists. I know you guys were doing Botox at the party.
Yep.
I think you're the first person that I've met that's like, I'm going to go talk with a freaking chemist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why that idea, and where did you find these chemists, and how did you interact with them?
Yeah, so so that's kind of, I've got manufacturers all over the world that make products, and that's, you know, I've been to Asia a gazillion times, and talked with people out there, and I've put people in India, I have people in the United States. You know, it's tough. You know, a lot of our stuff is American made, but at the same time, you know, it's, you know, and I know I'll get backlash for this, but, you know, in the U.S., you get some people that are either very good or very lazy.
100%.
It's just what it is, you know, manufacturers.
It is.
And you know, I come from a manufacturing background. My dad was in manufacturing. I know manufacturing very well, but you know, it's the reason why, you know, you got in unions have taken this country down. You know, they've babied the worker, and they've, you know, hopefully that'll change. I think I'm so against unions, especially, you know, if you look at, you know, UAW, you look at, you know, the car world. I mean, it's just it's killed. It's destroyed our world. And you know what? Let me tell you a really cool story. So my nanny and papa, they raised me. And my nanny actually just died, and I couldn't go to New York because of the whole quarantine. Yeah, it's okay. And she helped raise me, and her family, the Gingellos, they were mafia, and like, I mean, her brother Sammy G got blown up in a car. And and it literally blew like mafia style. Yeah, blown up in a car, and her whole family was union, but my dad's company was non-union. And I had this interesting way of my childhood where I'd have dinner with them, and it was all about, you know, union, how it takes care of, you know the worker. And my dad was like, listen, you make $12 an hour. If you want to go to the other place for another 15 cents, go. So there was no real commitment to their people. It was like, it was cutthroat. People would be bouncing back from jobs over 10 cents or 20 cents. So when I saw both of how they worked, and I'm like, I want to take both of that and put it into one, and have compassion for my people, really pay them well, but at the same time have a business that can really, really grow and keep it lean.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I you know, it started off with me, you know, finding chemists at Kodak, and I'm like, I want to find the best people who are in this. So that's what I do. I mean, I search out for people. I'm like, you know, like hyaluronic acid. I'm like, who can make this for me? So what we did was, I found someone making hyaluronic acid. And I'm like, I want to make it here. I want to figure this out. And, you know, we just did tons of testing and testing. I mean, right now I'm coming up with a tattoo bomb, right? So what I did, I posted on my story. I got every single good one there is, right? And then I'm like, okay, what is the best of each of these? And then what I do is I go and I source out where I can get all these chemicals, right, that are the best, and I want to stay organic with it. So it's like, okay, I got to take that out, take this out, and I create something. And then we go, I mean, all of our products, Feel God, Scalpa Numb, all Amazon's choice. I mean, they're all number one rated, all of that. It's because we put the work in, we find the best products, and then we make that, you know, but of course there needs to be, you know, action around it and advertising around it. But again, it comes comes down to if your customers trust you that you're coming out with the best, and you come score every single time you put the work in it, you can't lose.
Well, and so I think that's actually crazy. So the first time I met you guys, right, the Dead Gal launch party, and they're like, yeah, we're doing Botox here.
Yeah,
and I looked
Scalp
at my,
Aesthetics.
yeah, Scalp Aesthetics. Sorry, not Botox, Scalp Aesthetics.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked at my girlfriend. I was like, is that normal? She goes, no. She's like, I'm not getting Botox here. And I was like,
no, but that was it. Yeah, so that was it. Actually, that was a nerd, Nurse Jamie. So Nurse Jamie, she's a nurse.
They did a great job.
Yeah,
like I've heard nothing but good things, but
yeah.
like it was just like weird to me and weird to her because you think about it such in a medical standpoint. Like, why are we doing this when we got margaritas in the next room?
Yep.
But it's like, no, like we're trying to show this product. This product's like organic. It's built here. It's part of this company, and it's really good shit.
And actually, so with the Botox, it's actually so the end of the day, you have Allergen, right? The biggest company. They're the owners of Botox, and they own Botox and a bunch of different things. And so I'm like, why can't I sell something like that? So I started kind of digging around,
for a lot,
and they sell for way too much. So I sell it for 10% or it's a tenth of the price, 10th to 20th of the price. And guess where I get it? I get it from the same exact factory they get it from. Literally, the people that make their stuff, I get it from them. So it's the same exact stuff, but they've got this big brand, big overhead. They're publicly the whole deal. And I'm like, so it's funny when you think this company is this, that, and the thing. When you start doing your research and you start knowing manufacturers all over the world, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, there's an MOQ of this. All right, let's go. I got the same stuff they have, but I can sell it because I don't have, all of these investors that I'm a one-man show, and I go and do it. So the medical line is something new that we're getting into, but and I love that too, and it's growing. But my big passion is the people that can start up, that don't need a license, that don't need all this crap, and they say, let's go, let's get you going. And even at home business, right? You set up a little salon, a little thing in your house, right? You can sell the product, everything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we, it was scary when COVID hit. I'm like, how are we gonna do? Because it's beauty. It's like, how are they? And we just blew up. Just because there's some people, because I made phone calls. I'm like, why are you? Because a lady came, bought $3,000 worth of product. I'm like, who is this lady? So I made a personal phone call. I'm like, what made you buy all that? She was like, you know what? I had a full-time job. I bought one of your trainings. I loved it, but I never got to do it. And now I'm laid off, and I just want to go all in. I want to go all in. I want to have this, and I want to create my own destiny. I don't want to sit. I'm making $40,000 a year, and I just want to use all the tools that you have. I want to build my empire. And that's what gets me up every morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. I was literally having this conversation with one of my buddies today. He called me out of the blue. I haven't talked to him in months, probably almost a year. It's actually funny. My photo guy over here, Noah, is Miles. Miles gave me a call today. And I was telling him, he goes, what's your plans? Because I'm still in college right now.
Yep.
I get paid to go to school from the military. And he's like, what's your plan? I was like, bro, this. Like, you can really turn this. Like, when you work for yourself, it's something so different. You get this energy about you that you want to work harder than you ever have because everything that you are doing comes back to you. So that was one of the questions I was going to have was COVID, right? Yeah. I'm seeing so many people do, like, lashes, and my girlfriend obviously does hair and everything like that. Some things you have to get certifications for, and you have to have licensing, and you can't, like hair, you can't do it at home. So my girlfriend, like, legit had to chill during quarantine. But different things you can run out of your house. You can, and with your training, that's like you're getting the certification right there. You can run it out of your house. You have the everything you need to do every type of microblading, whatever you need, and you can run it out of your house.
Yeah,
and you
there's
have to pay rent and all that
and there's rules. I mean, there's you gotta have a sink in, so you have the sink nearby and all that sort of that. But and another thing, I'm like, but I'm more of a renegade. I guess I'm a black sheep of the rules, and I rather ask for
forgiveness
than exactly
ask for permission.
Ask for permission.
One of the best things I've ever been told.
Yeah, and I tell people that some people, they talk themselves out of it. They're like, oh, what is it? And this, it's like, if you can't find out, you were looking everywhere and you call and no one knows. this is the time to make the money.
Yeah.
Go and do it until they actually have that regulation, right? And it takes them so long to create these regulations, and it's just so it's and that's what I like, these gray area procedures like fibroblasts and all different things that we show people how to do, is because they can offer it because there's no governing board for it.
No.
So it's that's why they're so innovative new, because by the time they catch up to you, you're talking 3 years. In 3 years, you just make yourself a fortune.
Oh,
you know,
a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I know how much it costs for a female to get her hair done, like
Yeah.
colored, dyed, cut, blow dried, all that stuff. Like, I can only imagine everything like that.
Exactly.
I gotta ask, though, what is fibroblasting? Like,
So,
I was looking at it on here, and I'm like, it's like advanced fibroblasting.
Yeah, it's all. So fibroblast is it's basically this heating needle that burns the skin. So if you look at a scar, so I've never looked at it. I always, when I see a scar, I'm like, oh, yuck. But now I look at a scar, I think of it differently. So a scar, if you look at it, it's like pink. It's like baby skin, basically. It's all burnt and crumpled up, right?
Yeah.
So this is just before a scar. So when you get Botox, you stiff the skin. It's gone in 4 months. With this, you do a patterns on the skin. So you can do under the chin. You can do lip lifts. You go over the lip, and it lifts the lift up. You can do the eyes. You have the crow's feet. You do the eyes, right? And so what it does, it burns the skin, and these little dot formations, which as you do the dots in these patterns, it lifts the skin, and then when it heals over, it's literally baby skin. The wrinkles are gone, and you have like brand new skin. It's so gnarly. But here's the best part about it. So you charge $250 per section, and your cost is $1 per needle. That's a 250. That's bigger than drug money.
Yeah.
I'm talking even the main guy. I mean, of course you have to be there, right? You can't just sell it and you're just making the money, right? But you're there and you're making you're making $249, and that one. So if you do the whole face with that one needle, because the one needle can do the whole. It's just per person. Mm-hmm. So you do the whole face, $1,000. You paid $1. I don't know anywhere besides stock market geniuses that are making that kind of money. So the margins are really good. I mean, and needleless injections, it's awesome. Great procedure. So now you can literally compete with a doctor down the street because you're giving injections without a needle. So you don't cross that line of a needle, and you're injecting through this little hole that throws hyaluronic acid filler into there's fine and deep. It's called scalp eject into the lips, into the face, and you're doing exactly what doctors are doing without using a needle. So that's an awesome procedure as well. We have all different really cool procedures that people can offer.
I was gonna say that's kind of the difference, right? So like when you have a needle going into skin, 9 times out of 10, like people are gonna say no for one, but also it's just kind of like a good thing to have a doctor do that. Just
exactly.
To be safe.
Yep.
And the fact that you can do that differently, that's crazy. I mean, I was reading through the Scalpa website today and just looking at all the different things that you guys offer. Guys, go check it out. Scalpashop.com. They have so many different things. You guys can learn a new technique. It's really, really cool. But I got to ask you some personal questions.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I know we already said we already dove into the relationship. I'm not going to ask those questions. I got you. What brought you out to Arizona, though?
So I was gonna move to Florida for tax purposes. Yeah, I was gonna go out there, and I ended up going. I lived in Florida for 4 months when I moved to Arizona, and came back. But I was gonna move to Florida, and then I came to Arizona. I had an issue with one of my franchisees for Scalp Aesthetics. It's funny, you know, the Biltmore area. It's really nice, and he showed me pictures of the Biltmore area, and that's where he moved. But you know, when you go just outside of the Biltmore area, it gets like really ghetto.
It goes 0 to 100 real quick.
Exactly.
Right,
so people were like saying, like, man, I just went through these gates, and it's like, I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then there were some issues where there was clients coming and money wasn't coming in. I'm like, you know what? And I never really do. So I'm like, you know, I'm gonna fly out there and see what's going on, do my own, just kind of show up. So I showed up to this and I'm like, he's representing my brand. He's showing me the Biltmore Mall, you know, all this, like I'm right near here, and I'm like, dude. So I showed up, and then just like this little room, and it was in this like ghetto area. They had the whole thing fenced off and like it was horrible. So showed up there, and I stayed for a few days, and I'm like, man, I love this place. And my friends thought I would never leave New York, you know, because I had a really, you know, good close group of friends and stuff out there, and I love New York, and I'm like, yeah, I just need to move. I want to get away and do it. So found a house way up north, way too far up north. Didn't do the math. It was like, literally, I was up on 144th and Dynamite, just way too far.
Oh,
and but I got this beautiful home for such a good deal compared to New York prices, right? It was such a beautiful home. But I only lasted about 2 years out there, and then ended up moving closer to here. But yeah, I absolutely love Arizona. I will never move from here. This will always be a home base for me. We're looking at places back out in Florida just to have something to go back and for me, a condo in Miami Beach. I love it out there. It's fun out there. It's a good time, and I love I miss the water. I like the
That's
water.
true. Yeah,
you know what I mean? The water part's pretty important to me. But yeah, I love it here.
Yeah. When did you move out here?
Moved out here 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you've just been exploding ever since. Man.
Yeah. It's been fun. I love sometimes I'm scared to tell people how nice it is out here. I'm like, oh yeah, it's not that. Yeah, it's okay. I just like keep people away.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm literally my best friend. We were next door neighbors since I was 6 months old. I think he was like a year and 3 months old. He's a little bit older than me, but my best friend. I've known him for the longest, other than my parents and my sister. He texted me the other day. He goes, "Hey, how far away is Sedona?" I was like, it's like 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. He goes, "Damn." He goes, "What about Buckeye?" And I was like, it's another hour, but a nice spot. Like, they're from Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. He lives in Illinois, and I was like, dude, look at Cave Creek.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at Cave Creek. I was like, that's probably the closest you're going to get. And it's like 20 minutes because I live in North Phoenix. And he goes, like 15 minutes later, he goes, "Yeah, bro, Arizona's out." And I was like, "Why?" He goes, "It's too expensive." I'm like, everywhere is too expensive compared to small town Illinois with 3,000 people, buddy. I'm like, but you have to remember, like, your wife's going to be making 3 times the amount you're making.
Yeah.
You're going to be making the 3 times. Like, they're the most all-American couple. I love. Shout out AJ. I love you, buddy. The most American couple. He's a police officer, and she is in the medical field. I'm like, it doesn't get much better than that.
Wow.
But it was funny because I'm trying to sell people in Arizona, and they're like, "It's so freaking hot." I'm like, you don't understand.
Oh my God! But the rest of the year is absolutely gorgeous.
You can deal with the 118.
So you're Chicago? Where are you?
No, I'm small town Illinois, Monmouth, Illinois.
Gotcha. Okay.
Lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for 10 years, and I hated small towns.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like you. Like, I got to talk to people. I got to understand like how people function and grow and everything like that. And that's why my family, they work their ass off, really blue collar, and that's where I learned that. But now I get to do it on a bigger scale.
Yep.
To where it's not like, okay, I'm not talking with like Farmer Joe. I'm talking with Bryce Cleveland, who's a millionaire, CEO of 3 companies, man.
Yeah.
But obviously you've had so much success, the CEO of 3 companies. What's next, man? Like, you have your eyes set on. I know you have to have your eyes set on something.
Yeah, it's building out. It's always what's next. That's kind of what that's the stage that we always live in. What is next? It's always just progressing. I think it's about we've got landmarks on. We have a tally on how many lives we've changed. It's something that I think about every day. What other life can I change? So that's something that gradually I'm always thinking about. But there's a lot of countries that I want to get in, like Korea, different areas,
sure.
right? And there's compliance things with that, right? And just figuring that all out, partnering with people, getting into countries that I'm not into, that I'm not serving right now. But it's always what's the next product. That's what we do. That's why I love what I do, is because I'm so hyperactive and so ADD and so chasing shiny objects that I always kind of burn myself when I go somewhere else. Not all the time. I mean, I'm probably invested in a lot of different things, but I love what I do is because I can there always is what's next. Like it keeps me busy, right? On what the next cool thing is, right? Let's try out this, adding more value, doing this, doing that. So, I mean, if there wasn't a what's next in something, I'd be so bored and I'd be getting into trouble.
Well, yeah. I mean, you talked about adapting and everything like that. And with COVID, like, you guys started Dead Gal, Scalpa blew up.
Yep.
So really, COVID was like a blessing for you then.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it blew up. We were on our way to. We were really, really blowing up. It was weird. I didn't really know, and it was funny. I had like 3 days of just like it, like kind of did this little dip, and I'm like, oh shoot, like what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then it just went. So I think it was just kind of this weird 3 days of whatever it was, and then we just have skyrocketed. But I think that we're going on the momentum anyways. I think that when this COVID thing gets over with, which I hope this after November 3rd, I hope they just stop talking about it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, the vaccines, whatever it is, it just all so weird to me. Yeah. But I think that it's just what was scary to me but still exciting to me was that I had this like special magic that I never talked about, is that everyone would downplay like online training. You can't. It's like, and I just be like, listen,
Everyone's
buddy,
like, it has to be in person.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, you don't see how, and I would love that, because I'm like, I want you to think that, because I'm over here going to the bank, right, with what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, I'm killing it.
I got my Rolls Royce parked
But I'd rather
outside,
you
baby.
just think like, I'd rather you just think that. But now it's really opened the doors to everyone wanting to do that, right? So it was like, it creates more competition, because the people that were dogging me, and I was like, oh, I got this online training. I'm like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, I knew about this 5 years ago, and now you're talking about it. Like, you know, you were dogging me. You're up on these Facebook groups saying, oh, Scalpa is doing that, right? And now you're over here saying, I got this mini online training program. It's like, but, you know, the other thing too is that it's creating the gap. And I know there's actually a book on it, and man, I love that book. It's by Seth Godin.
Okay.
And, you know, what you do in your first 5 years, you work your butt off, and you just create so much content. You build, right? Where it comes to a point where that gap is so goddamn big that you're just unpenetratable. I know it's cocky to say, but it's an art, and it can happen. When you just build yourself, you create all of that. You create this gap because you've literally revolutionized it, and that's what, you know, that's what I'm working on doing. I think we've done, where it's like, yeah, you know, you got a microblading training, yeah, you got this training, but we've got like the goddamn school, and we not stopping, like we're not sitting back, and it's like, so by the time it takes you to get, we're just going through it, and that's something that that I always think about. It's like just constantly creating that gap so much bigger, where you're offering so much value for free, right? More value to them, right? Always supporting them. I always tell people, when you buy in our training, we're not going to say your time's up. We're here because it's not about the training. It's about you
like
being
training and
amazing.
done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about you being amazing. So whatever we got to do to make you amazing, because that's how we grow with you, and we want to be a part of that. At the end of the day, that's what makes us feel good. And I shout out one more. I mean, I got Alf that runs my warehouse, so amazing. But Christina Daniels, I have to. Christina Daniels, she came into my life about a year ago, and she's a nurse. She's the most special woman ever, and she is one of our she is our head educator, that has really just given that personal feel to all of our trainees, and she literally oversees all the trainings, and really is really special. So I'm lucky to have her. I'm nothing without my team.
Well, and I think that's so amazing.
Yeah.
And so important is, you don't really realize, you don't see people that do the actual work 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
It's like the CEOs, right? Like Elon Musk. Like, everybody knows Elon Musk,
Exactly.
but no one really knows who the rest of freaking Tesla is.
Exactly.
So it's crazy, and it takes a certain person to understand, like, hey, I'm going to be humble. Yes, I did start this company, but I'm literally nothing without these people.
Absolutely nothing.
If they're not there with me at the freaking beginning, then I don't know where I would be, what I would do, and I think that's freaking amazing, man. It cracks me up, and I'm so impressed that you went from high school dropout to now you're actually teaching people.
I know. It freaks me out too.
You're like I don't even. Did you ever get a GED, by the way? Or were you like, screw it, man?
You know what? I thought I didn't, because I went to this little class, and like I took I always tell people I don't, but my mom actually sent me a thing last year, and she was like, here's your GED. And I'm like, I got it. I'm like, I've been telling people I never even got it. I'm like, when did I do that? I'm like, you went to this thing. It was like in Brockport or something. You like took this class. I'm like, they never sent it to me. And so I tell people that I didn't get it, but I guess I did, but it doesn't freaking matter. None of it did anything for me. So, because I know my mom's gonna watch this, like, Bryce, I sent you it last year. I'm like, damn it.
You're like, Mom, you never sent me that GED, right? No, but I think that's cool. And when I interviewed Taylor, we talked right afterwards, and you're like, I want to tell my story and just really like let people know, because I did have kids in class, because I was so taught, like, you have to graduate high GPA. If you don't graduate high GPA, you're not going to get into college. If you're not going to get into college, you're not going to get a high paying job.
Yep.
And now that I see that now, I'm like, that was never the case. Like, I wish I wasn't told that. Like, I got good grades because I worked my freaking ass off. And now that I've learned that, and I'm in college, I'm starting to figure out different ways of life. But you don't you don't need that. Like I said earlier, if you have a plan, man, and if you know how to accomplish that plan, and if you have the work ethic,
exactly,
like you moving freaking mattresses
yeah.
in your little pickup truck while you're
yeah.
sitting behind a McDonald's,
yeah,
that's the hustle
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even in my warehouse. I mean, when I finally got my first warehouse, I still didn't even. I got my warehouse for I had a apartment to live in, and I would literally sleep. And it was all cold storage, so it was a cold building. And so like I had a heating thing, and I had at that time I had 12 employees, and this is when I just got that going, and and they didn't even know I was living in the warehouse, and it was just, but I'm like, I just got to get this thing going, get it going, and then things changed pretty quickly, but I mean, just it's not the road that I would suggest for anybody the way that I did it. And that's why, I was so passionate about someday I want to create a community of people that are like my family, and where I can kind of fill that void, right? Where I've got all these awesome people around me that can lead the way. And it is, and I even think that employees, they can go. And I've had a lot of employees in my day where they learned so much from me, or learned so much from me, just the environment that we've created, where they went off and did their own thing, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. There's another ecosystem there where you got 3 years, 4 years, 5 years with somebody, and they want to go and take on. If it's not with me, where I can create that place for them where they can expand, they need to go off and do that. They learn enough from me, and I love watching them even grow, just like I do, because they're watching people that are art that come across and watching them explore. Like I love what you've done for me, Bryce, but I've learned so much that I want to go and take my own risks and go, and I'm always up for that as well. Is that you bring on, it's good to bring on new blood and let them go, and not you don't want to pigeon, you don't want to wedge anyone into anything, and just be open for their success, because that's what makes you feel good too.
Yeah,
it's scary, you got someone that's so good at what they do, and you've created it,
and now they're making their own company.
Exactly, but at the same time, it's so rewarding. It's what feels good.
Yeah, and one thing I talked about it with Taylor. It's like, if I eat, everybody eats. I want my friends to be successful. I want the people in my company to be successful, because, like you said, like you're nothing without them. Yep. They did such a huge job for you that now it's time for them to get a little piece of theirs.
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Bryce. This is the longest episode I think I've had, man, but this was great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Welcome.
Honestly, the hustle is on an entire another level. Yeah. And I've had literally 4 different DMs when I said that I was interviewing you. They said that like his hustle is different.
Yeah,
like he's gonna absolutely blow your mind.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely amazing
awesome,
talking to you, man.
So
anything you want to do?
Yeah, no, I mean, make sure they know that we got tons of goodies for them. So anyone that wants to do your thing, I got my book.
We got giveaways, guys.
It's the ADD book. So if you don't like reading books, you'll love to read this book. We got the whole butt lift machine. If you call us, we'll give you the training program. We have the microblading. We've got the SMP. I got henna brows. I got. There's so much more. Oh, I got the hyaluronic acid. I got a whole 10 ml hyaluronic acid with the machine. So he's got a huge giveaway of tons of fun stuff.
What do you say this giveaway is worth?
I would say around 3,000 or 4,000. Yeah.
3,000 or 4,000 guys.
Yeah.
You got to get it on
more
this.
Like 4,000. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, for the butt lift machine,
Yeah.
I already texted my girlfriend that, and she's like, "Oh, I'm winning this one," and I'm like,
Awesome.
"Baby, you can't win it because it's my show."
I love it.
But no, thank you so much for coming
You're
on,
welcome, man. It's fun.
It was
Thank
honestly an honor. I love talking with you.
Cool.
And just hearing about your hustle, man. Let's stay in touch, and I'm going to pick your brain like a mofo.
Yeah.
All right?
I love it.
Guys, that's it, episode 13. I hope you loved it. I'm going to let Bryce get out of here. He's got dinner plans, and I want him to make those. Guys, I hope you love this. Obviously, Scalpa is doing amazing things. Dead Gal's doing amazing things worldwide right here in Arizona. Make sure to follow Bryce. Make sure to follow all his companies, guys. They really do amazing work, and they really care about their employees, and they want their recipients of their product to be professional, and they want it to be absolutely amazing. So tune in for this episode. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited, guys. Episode 14 will be next week. I'll see you guys later.